Good morning, Unity. So good to see all of you. Good morning. She's back with us once again. Why don't you please welcome Miss Amy Ione.
Standing outside the door of love and mercy, you wonder if there's a place there for you. You know there's peace inside, but you're still searching for someone who understands the pain you've been through. Well, the doors are locked, the lights are on. What are you waiting for? Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. You'll find the peace and rest in the arms of spirit. God's waited so long for your homecoming day. God knows the place you speak and the hurt you're feeling. Spirit wants to hold you and wipe your tears away. With a Father who waits with open arms, God is calling out your name. Yeah. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Yeah. There's room enough in the house of love for someone just like you. Oh, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in.
Good morning, everybody. So good to see all of you. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Bev Spivey, co-ministering here with my wonderful husband, still wonderful, Reverend Lawrence Palmer. I'm just a happy camper today. We got moved to Fort Lauderdale, and I found my shoes. James, our wonderful music director, tell us about the wonderful band this morning.
Good morning. We have Mr. Peter Wallace at the piano and the organ this morning. We have the one and only Mr. Pedro Baroas at the drum set. And you met Amy Ione. And I'm just going to tell him, Amy, okay? But Amy recently got engaged. And there's some other news. I don't know if you knew, but you guys remember Karina?
Yeah.
Karina and her wife, Jackie, they just had a baby boy. Did you know that?
I saw it on Facebook.
They named him Jackson James Iglesias.
If you're with us for the first time, you will soon figure out that this is a very spiritual family with the emphasis on family. Pete and Samantha were married recently too, so love's in the air. Hey, James. Just saying. Well, we have a theme this month, and in addition to letting our light shine and feeling that love and joy all the time, this is a month to focus on learning and growing. We want to encourage everybody, and Lawrence and I as well, to continue on our spiritual path with that open-mindedness that allows us to use our tools of understanding and keep learning and growing. So that's what we're going to be all about this month. We also want to start with our vision. Let's say that together. Centered in God, we create an ever-expanding spiritual community of one. in our mission statement together. We are a spiritual beacon of inspiration, abundance, and enlightenment. And before we go to prayer, we invite all of our listeners by live stream to join us for this entire service today, and know that you're also part of our spiritual family, as many of our snowbirds have returned up north and many of our regulars are vacationing. We know you're with us, so that's great. So let's all pray in together. As we take in a breath of our wonderful Florida weather, we've experienced a couple days of beautiful moonlight, sunny skies, some rain showers. We're so appreciative of the earth, the planet, and the universe in which we live. And today we focus on this spiritual community where we learn and grow together. It is a safe place to experience our challenges and work through them, to raise our children, to care for each other through our aging processes, celebrating new beginnings, always, every day. And so with love in our hearts and open-mindedness and the willingness to share today, we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. Let's all stand together and sing Open the Eyes of My Heart.
Here's a great song we got from a guy called Paul Baloche. I'm sure you've heard this one before. Let's all sing. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up. See you high and lifted up. Shine in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you high and lifted up. To see you high and lifted up. Shine in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you.
And if you're here for the very first time, we want to see you and ask that you would please raise your hand. We just have a simple, non-threatening brochure to put in your hands. So if this is your first Sunday with us, would you raise your hand, please? And welcome. We welcome you. Know that we always have social time after every service in Fellowship Hall. So those of you who are rather new, stop by our social time for a while and get to know people. We really do want to have that time to fellowship together. We have prayer that's very important here, and there is prayer available for a half hour before every service in the first room on the right. In the next building is the prayer chapel. Stop by there for some private prayer, or there's a chaplain available to pray with you every Sunday. Of course, we have prayer following the service here, and again in that prayer chapel after the service. Power Hour continues. 9:30 on Sunday mornings is a wonderful discussion time. This year we'll probably be on it for a year. We're focusing on the book Untethered Soul. You don't even need to have the book. Some of you have read it before and didn't understand a thing about it. So come on out as our licensed teacher, Cynthia, leads the discussion of Untethered Soul and work through some of those questions in your mind. We are having our chaplains lead us in prayer and meditation. Right now, for the summer, we're probably on monthly. So the fourth Wednesday of every month, which will be this week, May 25th, please come out for our prayer circle. It's a time to share your prayer concerns, to share your prayer joys, and then be led in a time of meditation. Some of you have expressed a desire to practice and learn meditation skills as well as affirmative prayer. So that would be the time to come out for that at 7 o'clock, just for an hour, 7 to 8, and led by Ron Smith and our chaplains. Where are we meeting? In the room here? In the prayer chapel. Okay, so the very first room in the breezeway. Yeah. Okay. Book lovers, be reading for the month is The Shoemaker's Wife. And then the discussion about this book will be the next week on June 1st at 7 o'clock in this room right over here, led by John Spira, who does a wonderful job with choosing our novels to read. And it's good for some outside reading. You know, we miss doing that. So even if you don't get around to reading the book, John invites you to come out for the book discussion and keep your brain tuned into reading. Summer Splash. Yes, it is summer. You can see by some of the empty seats, our snowbirds have left us for the summer. We want y'all to know we're going to have a good time anyway. Our Terrific Tuesdays is the theme of our Tuesday night classes, but we decided to take a little bit of a break from teaching our next credit class, and we're going to use our Tuesday night to continue to fellowship. One of the things we enjoy from Tuesday night classes is that time of fellowshipping and getting to know each other. And David Hamilton asked me many, many months ago, can't we just have some more potlucks and socializing? So, David, this begins on the 31st, which is, just following on the heels of Memorial Day. We want to gratefully remember this spiritual community and just have our own version of a potluck picnic, indoors, of course. So come on out for that on the 31st, Tuesday, May 31st. Let's start at 6:30 and just have an evening of eating and socializing, fellowshipping together. The next week, June 7th at 7 o'clock, will be Cynthia Roberts, our licensed teacher, who's put together PowerPoint and a presentation on healing the fractured self. Now, those of you who have not yet heard any of Cynthia's workshops are in for a treat. Cynthia is our resident brainiac, we call her. She knows about bosons and particles and waves and energy and math, and she has put together some of the latest science. Some of you are familiar with Bruce Lipton and others who work with the biology of belief. This is a Tuesday night not to miss, so please come out to be brought up to date with where we are on healing as it relates to modern day science and spirituality. And then the next week, we'll be switching gears to have a night of improv fun. Mary Curtis is trained at Second City in Chicago. She has all kinds of improv workshops that she does, and this too will be a night of fun and socializing. So make a point to continue to come here on these Tuesday evenings. We'll intersperse breaks with that as well. And then as we go a little farther on in the month of July, I think it is, Lawrence and I are going to do 3 or 4 sessions on relationship, which we should have a lot of fun with that. We plan to still be together then, so all is well. We've survived this move, so we're in good shape. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. All righty, let's all stand and greet each other this morning.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let's all sing. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has made.
Good morning. I'm Julie Felinsky, and I'll be reading the daily word for today, which is let go, let God. I let go and let God be God in my life and in the lives of my loved ones. Watching a child get on the school bus, begin a new career, or start his or her own family is an exercise in letting go for the parent. We are proud of each step in their growth toward independence, yet we may find it difficult to give up control. Whether a child, parent, spouse, or friend, they may each have their own path to follow, and I trust God to guide them along the way that they should go. Holding on to my faith in God, I take a breath and let go of the need to be in control. I trust God to show them and me a vision far greater than any I could imagine on my own. Through letting go and letting God, I allow my loved ones to reach their highest potential. The scripture is from Psalm 52, verse 8. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the steadfast love of God forever and ever.
And as the prayer chest comes forward, we'd now like to begin a time of prayer and meditation by singing together, "Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place." Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel this mighty power and this grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel this mighty power and this grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
I invite you now to settle into that very comfortable and familiar position for your body. And as you do so, you can give your body permission to relax, to let go, to let be. And with that loving permission, your body will immediately move its focus from the outer to the inner. And I would invite you to take a deep, slow, deliberate breath and hold it for a moment, then exhale slowly, gently. And how sweet it is to be able to simply breathe in this place of joy and security and blessing. And to know that the very air that we breathe is saturated with the presence of Spirit and saturated with the consciousness of those who gather in this place. So as your body becomes completely at ease, you can also give your mind that permission to relax, to let go, to let be. And you know that there is nothing that you need to think about. With every deliberate breath, your mind becomes more and more calm, peaceful, and serene. So with body at ease and mind at ease, your awareness is free to commune with Spirit. And that may mean for you at this time profound stillness. Or it may mean music and light and sound and color and all kinds of experiences. This is your time with Spirit. So as we have prepared to enter into the time of stillness, enter into that awareness of the presence of Spirit, enter into that very personal communion with Spirit. We do so now together. as you prepare to move your awareness back to your body and back to this time in this space, you know that even an instant during which your awareness is immersed in that deep of your heart, that healing and transformation take place. And you know that that light and energy of spirit that has filled your heart has overflowed into the rest of your body, and every cell of your body has been enfolded in that pure, bright presence of spirit. So with a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to experience this time together, I invite you to take a deep, slow breath in through your nose and hold it for a moment and exhale slowly through your mouth. And as you open your eyes, we will sing together, Alleluia.
Share of heartache and sorrow, moments of sadness and lonely despair. I've been down on my knees, begging life please to take this burden I bear. I embrace this pain that I feel, for I know it's birthing me into a greater way of being. I'm ready to receive all the gifts the storm may bring. Is a deeper sense within of God unfolding. Yes, these clouds are lifting me. Lord knows I've tried to run from these battles, but each time I try, I circle where I begin. I can't seem to move on till the learning is done. So teach me perfection there. I embrace this pain that I feel, for I know it's birthing me ready to receive the gifts a storm may bring. There's a deeper sense within of God unfolding. My light is glowing. Yes, these clouds are lifting in. Raise me up to the next glorious mountain. I will love each valley and peak. There will be a new me for certain. Every step, every turn, my God's waiting there. My greatness endures. I embrace this pain that I feel, for I know it's birthing me into a greater way of being. I'm ready to receive all the gifts the storm may bring. Hey, there's a deeper sense within of God unfolding. My light is growing. There's peace in knowing, and these clouds are lifting me. Yeah. There's a deeper sense in me. Said I'm grateful for this gift the soul may bring. I know these clouds are lifting me. I'm grateful for gifts the storm may bring. Yeah, I know these clouds, oh babe, are lifting me. I'm grateful for gifts the storm may bring. I know it. I'm grateful for these gifts in me. I'm grateful for gifts the storm may bring. I know these clouds, oh, they're lifting me. I'm grateful for gifts the storm may bring. Thank you.
That's Amy Ione.
Thank you, Amy and band. Don't we have good music? How wonderful it is to be in this place. I'm just filled with that this morning of how great it feels to have a home like this. And I know that you can walk into this place and you're loved and you're accepted and cared for. That you don't find that too many places, do you? But you got it here, and that's very good. Yes, and we're a part of it. As Bev mentioned earlier, this month has been a month of learning and growing. I want to share with you about learning today. And next week, as a growing experience, Bev and I are going to do one of our tag team sermons, so we'll see how that goes. We'll grow some more through that, I'm sure. I want to share with you what are, I'm not saying that these are the absolute truth, but 2 ways that we learn as we go along in this life. The first way that we learn is through direct human experience. Now, you can just walk around in the world with no intention at all and learn some stuff, can you not? You know, what do you do when the light changes color? Well, down here in Florida, people will still let you know what you're supposed to do. And if you don't move quick enough, they'll go around you. We learn things out in the world, just being there. But we can also be deliberate as an individual in the world and learn many things that way. Now, in the 17th century, there was a wonderful book, which is now a classic of Christian literature, called Pilgrim's Progress. How many of you have read it? It's no small feat to read that book. I read it while I was in seminary, John Bunyan's work. And it's about a man named Christian who was kind of struggling with his spiritual life, and he was told to move to the celestial city. And the book is about his journey from one place to another. And it's very interesting, some of the things that Pilgrim or Christian encounters along the way. And this story is meant to be a story about all of us, in case you missed that along the way. Christian left the city of destruction. He went through the slough of despond, the valley of humiliation, the valley of the shadow of death, the plain of ease, delectable mountains, doubting castle, the mountains of error and caution, and Vanity Fair. He encountered all of these things along the way. Any of those sound vaguely familiar to something you may have experienced along the way? He also encountered the monster Apollyon who tried to kill him. And then there was a giant called Despair who threatened him as well. And then he met some people called Talkative, which he didn't get along with very well, and Ignorance, and Flatterer, and Atheist. These were all people he met along the way on his individual experience of learning as he went along. And you've heard the saying of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It seems to be true in the case of Pilgrim's Progress. He encountered all these things and made it through all these things as an individual, and he learned from each one of them as he went along. Now, there's a story that I heard a long time ago, and I've heard several versions of it, but it says a man left his house, walked down a street, and fell in a hole. And he struggled and struggled and struggled to get out of the hole, and he finally found a way out of the hole. Next day, he leaves his house, falls in the hole. Says, oh, I remember this, and I remember how to get out of it. So he gets right out of the hole and goes on his way. Next day, he leaves his house, walks down the street, comes to the hole and does this. And almost falls in and manages to save himself from falling in and goes on his way. Next day, he leaves his house, walks down the street, sees the hole, steps around the hole, and doesn't even worry about it anymore. Next day, he leaves his house, walks down the street, and he walks down a different street. And that illustrates this progress of our individual learning, that something happens here and we think, oh, I can do this differently. Oh, I don't want to have this experience again, or I do want to have this experience again. There's some evidence that even one-cell organisms can learn. You have these little one-cell organisms in this solution and shine a certain colored light on it and put something caustic in their surroundings, and they will move away from it. And pretty soon, what happens when you shine the light? Well, even without any caustic material in there, they move away from the light. You've all heard of Pavlov's dogs, the German psychologist who trained dogs to salivate for the sound of a bell. So this process of learning is innate within living beings. It happens all over the place, and it happens on an individual scale, certainly, but there seems to be a little better way than doing it individually all the time. Even Christian, on his journey, had some time when he had shared experiences. He met some people called Goodwill and Faithful and Evangelist and Hopeful. And these people were assisting him on his way as he traveled along. And that's important for us to be able to do that, to have people around you. Someone quoted the scripture this morning to me, where 2 or 3 are gathered, the Spirit is there in the presence, in the midst of them. And something happens when we come together and share with other people and talk to other people. There's a phrase that I use in weddings that says when companions share a sorrow, their sorrow is halved. And when they share a joy, their joy is doubled. So there's something special about us sharing this experience of learning. It enhances how it happens. You've talked to somebody and you said, oh, I've got this problem, I don't really know what to do. And they said, well, when I had that problem, I did this. And you can say, wow, that's exactly what I need to do. So you learn by this shared experience. I had a relative that worked for a Toyota, the manufacturing part of Toyota in Kentucky. And Toyota is an amazing company. I don't know whether they still do a lot of these things or not, but he told me that they give bonuses for ideas. And he one day was walking along, and he came down a stairwell and went out another door, and there was a trash can over in the corner, and there was always trash laying around it. And what he figured is people come out of the door and whatever trash they have, they just throw it. And obviously they don't do very well. That's the way I am. That's why I didn't play basketball at all. I walk over and drop it in. But anyway, he saw this and he suggested to the management that they move the trash can about 3 feet over closer to the door, and all the stray trash went away, and he got a bonus for that great idea. But they also encourage what they call collaborative thinking and learning. He was the head of a department, and his team got together periodically and put everything on the table and said, I'm having this problem, or I'm wondering about this, or I'm curious about this, could we do this better, whatever. And they would get together and talk about it and come up with solutions. And again, if they came up with a good solution, they got a bonus, which is pretty cool. I wish we do preachers like that. Oh, that reminds me of a story. There was a minister who was watching the offerings as every Sunday, and he noticed that an IOU started showing up in the offering plate. I owe you $5, I owe you $10, and at the end of the month, there was a check that covered all the IOUs. And he finally figured out that the guy was giving him an IOU according to how much he liked the sermon that day. So that system was working really well until one day there was a slip in the offering that says, you owe me $5. No, that's no suggestion that we do that, all right? But we learn together. This human experience can be shared in a wonderful way. When I do wedding, I did a wedding yesterday, so this is very fresh in my mind. I like to go to the reception and just kind of eavesdrop on conversations. And this happened, it's amazing how similar weddings and funerals are when I think about it. But this happens at funerals as well, when families get together and they start telling a story. And one of them says, you remember that summer that we went to the mountains? And somebody says, no, that we didn't go to the mountains, we went to the beach that summer. And when they get together and put their stories together, things start coming together, and people have holes in their stories. They get filled in by somebody else. So this human experience is enhanced when we share it. But there seems to be an even better way. And that is to look at other people's experiences that we don't experience ourselves. A vicarious experience of human life. Scientists, or the trainers who studied this, found that if they took an athlete, this was particularly about basketball, and they had the athlete watch people who were really, really, really good at shooting free throws, and they just watched them, the free throw percentage of the player that was watching others vicariously improved. So we can learn, and it doesn't have to be our own direct experience. We can learn from watching somebody else's experience. This is what I say about the Bible all the time. So many people are afraid of the Bible. And I have a class called Making Friends with the Bible I'm going to do here sometime. But the Bible is not a book that tells you what you have to do. The Bible is the story of how humankind, up until the end of where the Bible was being written, how humankind tried to understand what this life was all about. Try to understand life here, trying to understand God. What's the meaning of all this? That's what the Bible is about. It's a record of that experience. So the value of reading the Bible and studying the Bible is to vicariously experience those things without having to do it yourself. Jonah ran away from God and ended up in the belly of a great fish. Now, how many of you want to sign up for that trip? We can read that story and see what happened to Jonah and say, wow, Jonah ran away from God, and whether he got swallowed by a big fish or not is not important. Jonah was miserable while he was running away from what was his to do. And I can read that story and say, wow, if I ever have the temptation of running away from what is mine to do, I know what's going to happen because I see what happened to Jonah. I don't want to do that. So when I hear that this is mine to do, I'm going to do it. And I don't have to repeat that experience. So we can learn powerfully from vicarious experience, seeing what other people experience, and being able to bring that into our own lives. Oh, yes, this is what I wanted to do. And this morning when I was reading the Sunday paper, and as most of you know, I like to cook, there is a review of a story, a book that a famous French chef wrote. And it says his latest book, 32 Yolks, is the story of how Rupert became Rupert, chronicling the lessons learned in childhood and early adulthood at home, at school, and in restaurant kitchens. Now, I can read his story and I can learn about how he evolved in his cooking style, how he learned to cook, the things he experimented with. I can read that without doing all those things myself and learn from it. So even without being there, even without having the experience, I can learn from it. Now, this is built into us. The individual experience of learning humanly, and the shared experience of human learning, and the vicarious experience of human learning is all built into us. We don't have to really worry about that a whole lot. But if we're a little bit deliberate, it can be even more powerful for us. But there's something better as well. And that is, we not only learn through direct human experience, but we learn through direct spiritual revelation. And it takes everything to another step. I like to share this about Papa Charlie. I thought I had a quote here. Papa Charlie began meditating. And I always tell this to beginning meditation students. When Papa Charlie first started meditating, he didn't have experience while he was meditating. The results of the meditation showed up in his dreams. So he found that he would have this dream about a real estate deal, and the deal would happen just like he dreamed it. So he learned to follow those dreams. He did his work, his practice of meditation, and this information showed up in his dreams, and he followed it, and it worked. So he learned by direct spiritual revelation. Do you get the idea why it's so important that we stress all the time prayer and meditation around here? It's not because you need to do this, you should do this, you got to please God. It's because it's good for you. It works. We receive direct spiritual revelation either directly through our meditation in that moment or at some other time through a flash of intuition or a dream that we have. We've seen it work. Papa Charlie showed it to us. So here's another way that we're able to learn and grow is through direct spiritual revelation. Now, we often feel that that's for somebody else and not for us, but it is for us. Now, I shared with you a couple of weeks ago my experience of having this profound sense of forgiveness in one of my meditations. It happened right in the meditation time. Now, I have talked with therapists about self-forgiveness, and that was good. I've talked to ministers about self-forgiveness, and that was good. I've talked to friends about self-forgiveness, and that was good. I've read books about self-forgiveness, and that was good. However, none of those human things even compared to what I experienced in meditation. All that information, all that learning that happened from a human level pales in comparison to that experience that happened in me when I didn't know about, I felt forgiveness. It wasn't an idea that I tossed around and played with. It was a visceral experience. It was real. So this experience of direct spiritual revelation is powerful stuff and transforms our lives. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to throw away human experience, because that's important for us. But we can shift our focus from depending so much on that human spirit and bring it back to our spiritual experience. Now, again, getting back to the Bible, we have many examples in the Bible as well. If you read the Old Testament about Abraham, you know, Abraham was the father of the Hebrew people, also father, as they trace it back, to the Arab people as well. But Abraham was hanging out in his country, his home country of Ur, happy as he could be, and he got this revelation from God, pack up and move. You got to go. And he did. And then we find other examples like Samuel, as a young boy, was taken to the temple and left there to grow up and serve God in the temple. And one night he heard his name called, and he went in and woke up his teacher and said, "What do you want?" And his teacher said, "I didn't call you, go back to bed." Second time, heard his name called. He went in and said, "What do you want?" And Eli's getting kind of frustrated about it now. He said, "I didn't call you, go back to bed." Third time, he gets the call and goes in, and finally Eli realizes what's happening. He said, "The next time you hear it, say, 'Okay, Lord, I'm listening.'" And he had a direct experience of the contact of spirit when he responded to it. And there are stories like that. You remember the story of Saul in the New Testament? When this movement of Christianity was coming along, and Saul was a fervent Jew. And he saw this new crazy cult coming along as a threat to Judaism. So he was out doing everything he could to hinder the advancement of Christianity. And on the road to Damascus, what happened? There was a bright light. And he had a direct revelation from Spirit. And Spirit said, "You're going the wrong way, Saul. You need to do something different." So after that, he saw what he needed to do, and his name became Paul. And he was responsible for so much work that we'll see further in the New Testament. Over and over we see these stories. One more. The book of Revelation, which everybody is scared of and avoids. The gentleman who's credited with that by the name of John was on the Isle of Patmos. He was in exile. And he said, "I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day." And this great revelation came to him, a direct revelation from Spirit. This was not human experience. This was spiritual experience. Now, there was a time when I thought that all these things that Christian encountered on his journey, all the Slough of Despond and the Valley of Humility, all those things were a necessary part of our human experience, that it was going to happen. You just might as well brace for it. It's going to happen. But when I began to learn about metaphysics, I saw that differently. It's a possible way. That is a possible experience of living out in the world, of all these human experiences being the primary way of learning. That's certainly possible, but I don't think anymore that it has to be that way, that it's necessary that it is that way. Because if we turn our focus on our spiritual path, we see our human experience through the filter of our spiritual experience. Have you ever known two people were in the same situation and essentially had the same experience, and one of them said, "Oh, it was horrible," and the other one said, "Oh, it was great"? It was the same experience. It was the same tick-tock time going on. What was the difference? It was their perception of it, their experience of it. And those who look at the world from a spiritual perspective, first of all, may go through the Slough of Despond and never even notice it, because their mind and their heart is somewhere else. Through prayer and meditation, we open our minds, our hearts to the presence of Spirit, and these direct revelations come for us. And we don't have to have the human experiences. And see, what happens is your human experience now becomes deliberate. And instead of just walking around the corner waiting to see what hits me next, I walk around the corner with a spiritual intention in mind. It's almost like Teflon. You crack an egg in a Teflon pan, just scoot it around, it doesn't stick. And we're like that out in the world. This crazy stuff out in the world just can't find a place to stick when we are spiritually prepared. So the things in the world are there, but they don't have to be our experience. I was thinking there was one more character I was going to talk about. I covered them all, though. So let me say again that this direct spiritual revelation from Spirit is for us all. Now, will you have and can you have individual learning experiences out in the world? Yes. Can you have shared individual human experiences out in the world? Yes. Can you experience vicarious learning human experiences out in the world? Yes. But most important is the direct spiritual revelation to each of us, through which we filter all that happens in the world. And that's for all of us. One of the dangers, if I could use that word, in reading the Bible, is we see these characters like Abraham and Samuel and Saul and John, and we say, "Oh, they were special." Or this happened long, long, long time ago, and that stuff doesn't happen anymore. But I say, no. If it happened to them, it can happen to you and me. If anybody ever got a direct message from Spirit, if any human being ever got it, it means you and I can do that too. So I challenge you as we continue to move through this month of learning and growing. And as I said, next week we're going to take a look at growing a little more deeply. Keep in mind that it is your life. You can live it primarily spiritually and let that flow into the human experience that comes along. And that puts you in the driver's seat, if you will. That puts you with the power in your hands. That puts you with your deciding power. One of the great 12 powers, your will, is in operation. And I see you doing that this week. Go and learn. Go and learn. Go and learn. God bless you, my friend.
We offer so many opportunities for learning, and we grow whether we want to or not. It's just kind of a matter of which direction you're growing in, right? So take advantage of everything we have to offer here, and especially our special Summer Splash Tuesday nights coming up. Not this week. This week is meditation, but starting next week. So as our ushers are coming forward, we thank you, first of all, for your service. We have so many wonderful volunteers here that provide your wonderful Sunday experience. So won't you think about your gift today, your gift of your time, your gift of your attendance. Many of you are here also as volunteers in sacred service. So think about everything you have to give and know that you bless us so much in all of that giving. And we depend on your tithes and your offerings to maintain our budget. That's the only income we have, and we are very pleased to always live within it. So we encourage you to keep up your giving this summer if you're traveling, and go ahead and use bill pay or any of the other instant ways. If you're on live stream, there's, believe it or not, would you guess? There's a donate button, of course. So we thank you all for your gifts, and won't you hold that together now? There is a slip of paper that's green in the chair backs. It's our giving prayer on there. And if you have already given your gift for this week or this month or in some other way, or you don't have a gift with you today, let this be your gift. Let this be your blessing of our offering today and the energy that surrounds us. So together, with a great I acknowledge God as source of all that is. Today I declare good for myself and all others. Good is mine. Good and more good is mine. And ever increasing good is mine. Everywhere I go, I see this good. I feel it, I experience it, I freely give it, and it multiplies itself around me. And so it is. Amen.
Climbing higher mountains, trying to get home. Yes, I am. I'm climbing higher mountains, trying to get home. Oh, I'm climbing higher mountains. Oh, Lord, I'm climbing every day. Oh, I'm climbing higher mountains, trying to get home. My road has been a little rocky on the way home. Yes, it has. Said my road has been a little rocky on my way home. Oh, my road has been a little rocky. Oh, going up the mountain. Tell you my road has been a little rocky on my way home, Lord. I'm going up the rough side of the mountain on the way home, meet my Lord. And I'm going up the rough side of the mountain on my way home. I'm going on the rough side of the mountain, oh, on my way up to Lord, yeah. Climbing higher, Lord, oh, higher, higher, Lord, go higher, higher, hey, 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 clap your hands like this, y'all. Hey, hey, oh, 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 higher, 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 Lord, hey, 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 I'm climbing higher mountains, trying to get home, trying to get home.
Okay, we're sending you off. Climbing higher mountains. Practice on that Stairmaster. I see kids back here. Do you want to come up?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Mia, do you want to lead the prayer for protection? Would everybody stand as we close?
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment, peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. God bless you, everyone. Have a great week.